What we're doing? Yeah. Right. Okay. You see that all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute.
You guys.
I'm going to make sure you got the sound, haven't I?
Oh, it would be good.
Yeah, I know. I haven't started it yet, but I know that I've got to do that. All right. Okay. Well, let me know if you can't hear this. Can you hear the music?
No.
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 Oh, fuck.
More practice required.
Oh, I know. It's only, what's it, 2 weeks since we did a meeting?
Yeah.
And I've forgotten. Oh. Oh, what's it on? It's on here somewhere, isn't it? Where's the sound, Ray? Do you remember?
Normally when you share it, mate, there should be another little button, tick box. that
Oh, I
says-
got it. I got it. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Must do better. Right. You'll hear it now. Is that okay?
So,
Cool.
what makes a great landscape photograph? Other than the interesting subject matter that you're pointing your camera at, there are 3 other elements to every great photograph, and that is light, composition, and moment. Let's take a look at some of this. Light. Let me start with light. Light for me is perhaps the most important. The meaning of photography, the definition of photography is drawing with light. And here we are at magic hour. Everybody's heard of magic hour. It's the time of the day when the cool light of night meets the warm light of sunshine daylight. Here I am on the Great Wall of China. I had to get here pre-dawn, and I joke about the fact that you also need athletic skill to take this one, because I had to jump over the fence before any of the guards or the tourists were there in order to walk up the wall and get up here in order to see this view as the sun crested the horizon back there. I've got this nice warm side light adding to the texture. I have this wonderful leading line into this photograph. Completes the photograph. Shooting trains in China, this was an exciting story for me. I love steam trains, and I planned it to be at the best time of the year to shoot these steam trains, when it's cold in the middle of the winter, when the cold air emphasizes the amount of steam you see coming out of these stacks on these steam trains. Also, I've added a couple of people here who give you a sense of scale. I've taken a low angle. It's the magic hour of sunrise again, emphasizing the sky, lighting up those wonderful forms of billowy, cloud-like forms of smoke. Basho, the great Japanese poet, he traveled along this route, and I needed to make a picture of this very ordinary steps through the forest. I'm there again. I've chosen the light of morning to make this special. I got this nice side light coming in through the fog. It's lit up a very ordinary scene and given me a lift into the picture along this leading line. It was the lead picture for our story. Okay, so now we're looking at a silhouette. I'm actually looking into the sun. I'm taking advantage of that early morning sun before it's popped over the horizon, simplifying this photograph by putting it into silhouette. I'm looking at a Tibetan camp with the tents and maybe an animal or two, and the woman carrying a bucket of water. Anyway, this is all about the light, using it as not only the source, but the subject in this picture. Sunset. Well, sunset, what's the difference between sunset and sunrise? I couldn't tell you the difference. They're about the same, except for in the case of sunset, it always seems to last much shorter than sunrise. I'm on the top of a mosque. I've got about 50 steps from one end of the roof to the other. How was I to know the sun was going to come down right in the middle of the picture? Very easy, point and shoot. Photographer's luck. I just happened to be here at the right time of the year to catch this in just the right position. Don't put your camera away when the sun goes down, because then you have the lights of the city to focus on. In this case, this is in Tibet, in Lhasa. That's the Potala Palace. And I've used the artificial light, the electrical lights of the city, to make a composition with the cars, lights running down the street, and the street lights giving points of focal points along the roadside, and this wonderful, warm, cool light of night and electric. This is the container port in Hong Kong. And again, I've waited. I don't think I even shot a picture while the light was out. While the sun was out. And I was waiting for this moment where the incandescent lights were on. You can see the city clearly in the background as silhouette, still definition in the sky, on a tripod. And I was able to catch this, again, wonderful mixture of warm and cold in a very graphic composition. Venice. When do you ever see San Marcos Square with nobody in it? You got to get up early for this one. I was there when the street lamps were still on, and these pigeons, as anybody who's been there know that they're feeding down here. They took to the air, they provided movement. I had great glow of the warm and cool from the street lights. The birds provided movement and a moment, and I had my picture. Let's get into what normally is called bad light. Well, I don't believe in bad light. I have to work all times of the day, and knowing the qualities of the light at every time, at all times of the day, is an important thing. So here I am in Baghdad at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and it's midday, as you can see by the shadows. But what I got, the unexpected that I got, was the light bouncing off of this white marble, putting light into the faces of these tourists who are wandering around the outside of this monument. And so I have the faces. You can see each individual face of all of these people, thanks to that reflected light off the marble bottom. And then it was a question of just keeping aware of subject placement to put them in a meaningful and graphic composition where everybody is separated. here we are in midday in the Philippines. But whether you're in the Bahamas or Bali, to get this blue-green aqua water out of the sea, you've got to be there for midday. It's the best time of day to be there to shoot. Using a polarizer intensifies that color, the overhead light giving you great saturation. And then, of course, I just happen to be lucky that those guys are wearing red, and that's also working for me as it provides the contrast of the green. Yellowstone Park. This is the Grand Prismatic, famous site where this is actually a volcanic hot spring. And the only time you're going to shoot this picture is at midday. So I hired a helicopter to get this unique point of view, but I had to wait till the sun burned off the fog that normally hovers over the top of this till midday. When it was finally burnt off, I shot straight down and I got this beautiful graphic composition. The walkway underneath here with the people on it gives a sense of scale and puts you back into the universe, because otherwise you wouldn't know what you were looking at. Okay, don't put your cameras away when it's raining. In fact, put some covering on your lens, whether it be a shower cap or a towel from your hotel. Go on out there and shoot in the rain, because you will never get this color saturation as I have here on the wet bridge with this wonderful color of red. Also, the fog came in very handy because it hid the city that's actually sitting in the background. So I get this very graphic, very simple composition. I leave out the 21st century and I'm looking at a medieval castle in modern Japan, Matsumoto Castle. Okay, light's direction. This is also important. You got to learn to see like your camera sees. Now, with your naked eye, you're going to look at this and this is actually snow. And it looks like snow because your eyes adjust and you know snow is white. But the camera sees it differently. The camera sees shadow as reflected light from the sky, and therefore it's going to be the color blue. So as the sun was coming down, setting behind me, the shadow, this blue shadow, was coming up. The trees, however, are lit by the sun. So as you can see, they're a nice warm glow red. The shadow came up. It turned the snow blue. The blue sky is normal. Rule of thirds, I had my picture. Here we are talking about backlight, but same thing, seeing as your camera is going to see. My lens is focused on this backlight, hitting this ridge and lighting up these trees and just this line of the mountaintop. And whatever is in shadow against snow has also turned blue. Side light. On my Great Wall story, I went from the Bohai Sea all the way to Taklamakan Desert. And this is where the Great Wall recedes into the sand dunes of the Taklamakan. And to shoot this picture, I have to have the side light in order to bring out this texture and create this wonderful pattern that becomes the picture. Backlight again. I am using the the magic hour light of the sun to just light up that one area of color on the wall. It's coming in from just opposite me. You can see the nice texture on the crenellated ramparts of the wall, creating a patch of color where there was none. We like to call these God rays. The rain has just stopped. the sun is coming out and it hits the vapor in the air and creates these wonderful lines. We like to call them God rays. Photographers love to see that. Very simple point and shoot, but the main thing is to be lucky and be ready to see it when it happens. Let's talk about composition. If you want to see the best of classical composition, I suggest you take a look at Japanese woodblock prints from the 15th century. That's how long these rules have been in existence. But I'll say right now that rules are made to be broken. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Rule of thirds. Everybody's heard of the rule of thirds. That is, if you divide your frame not in halves, but in thirds, and at those intersection points of thirds, both horizontally and vertically, where you have those intersections is where the best place to put your subjects are. This, in other words, it's just another way of saying don't put your main subject in the middle of the picture. That kind of makes it static and boring. So look at this particular frame. It's on an island in the South China Sea. I've got fishermen off frame. I've got the horizon about a third. I've got this wonderful light working for me in both foreground and background, also not in the middle, and then boats placed on either side and a nice balancing rock over there on the far side. So here's a picture from the Tibetan Plateau. A real God moment for me because I'm sitting there waiting for the sun. It's this favorite light of mine, in, out, sunshine. There is no sun, and whammo, in comes this light, and it just happens to light up the crest of this building, of this mountain, and this foreground here. I've divided in a classic 1/3, 1/3 composition. Where those thirds are is where you see the light. Here's another case of 1/3 as well as layering, where I've taken the telephoto lens, I've created this pattern, splitting these tree trunks and branches into thirds, and then same thing with the clusters of yellow leaves, 1/3, 1/3, all together. It works as a composition. Here I am on the coast of China, South China Sea. I'm looking at fish traps in Fujian. Fish where the center of aquaculture is. And notice again the off-center placement. I have divided the picture in half here with the sun, which was a natural, but I've placed the subjects all off-center, keeping your eye moving around the frame and taking in each of the areas of the photograph. That's exactly what I want you to be doing. I want to just say about composition in general, go with what you feel. Go with what feels best. Framing. I'm always looking for natural frames to put something around my subject to concentrate your vision right to the subject that I want you to be looking at. In this case, the Forbidden City. I'm at the highest point of Beijing, looking down into the city, and I've got this wonderful snow scene here, which was a rarity, and I'm using the pavilion at the top of the hill there to frame this a natural frame for this scene. Here I'm using the prayer flags, the diagonal prayer flags, as a frame for the most sacred Tibetan monastery in Yunnan province, as well as a frame using the water and the sky and the water, almost the same exposure as it's the sky reflected here, and creating this very atmospheric scene of monastery in Shangri-La. It looks like Shangri-La. Arab dhow, using the sail and the lines of the boat as well as the feet of the sailor, to frame the waterfront of Lamu on the Swahili coast of Kenya, including the shadow for extra interest. Sense of scale. Now, these mountains are where they filmed Avatar. You remember the Hallelujah Mountains with the floating islands of in the sky? This is where they filmed that. And I kept the cable cars, in this case, in the photograph to give you a sense of the scale and size of these amazing pillars that rise up from the bottom of this valley, some as high as 300 meters into the sky straight up. Negative space. So here I am in a rice paddy, rice growing area of southern China. I have created this pattern. I have this little guy up here, this a farmer in the 1/3 of the frame, notice, but he's there, and what that provides is a sense of scale where you know how big an area this actually is. And of course, there's this graphic interest with this wonderful pattern of lines. Mekong River. Without that guy, you would have no sense of how wide and grand this particular stretch of the river is outside of Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Again, midday. Don't necessarily need the best hours of the light. You just need light to tell the story. And in fact, that overhead light has brought out the brown color in the water. Leading lines. Okay, so sometimes you got to get elevated just to see this. So I'm using actually a tool that I often bring into the field, and that is a step ladder. So I'm up on the ladder, I'm looking down on these marigold farmers in the Mekong Delta, and they have put the plants above the water, and it's very clever and convenient because as they put the water on top of the plants, the water goes down back into the river since they're growing the pots right over the river. Leading lines, color, take you into this photograph. Obvious leading line of the road. I'm shooting these Tibetan pilgrims as they're making their pilgrimage to Lhasa. And what they're doing is they're doing this very arduous prostration prayer. When you see it, it's pretty unbelievable because they're going through a 3-step movement. They're taking steps forward, they lie out flat, get up, do a push-up, and do it all over again, all the way to Lhasa. Sometimes it takes 3 months or more. So here I am, I'm walking backwards, maybe about a half a mile, waiting for each of these guys to be in a different position of the prayer. And so I got the guy here standing, and one guy down on his knees, and one guy flat out in prostration. I have it all in one frame, and thanks to that beautiful brown wet road, your eye follows the picture, the composition follows back into the distance. Standing on the Great Wall. Well, remember the last picture of the Great Wall I showed you? In this part of Western China, the Great Wall has petered out from the brick superstructure you see in Beijing. Here, it's just stamped earth. And so I'm standing on the wall. It's not a tourist item. It's in disrepair everywhere. And in this particular place, they're using it as the back wall of a sheep pen. They've cut a hole in the Great Wall, and as the sheep are running out to pasture, I'm standing up using this perspective to take you into the picture and down the line to also, you can see more Great Wall down there in the background. S-curves, like a leading line, it provides this guide for your eye that takes you into the frame. This is the spiritual source of the Mekong River. Not an easy place to get to. And my last story, you might have seen the magazine. It's on Chama Gudao, the Tea Horse Road. This is a tortuous switchback pass running through the mountains. Your eye follows naturally the road as it goes back and forth against this landscape in the same way as a car. Your eye follows into the picture. Easy device. S-curve here. Okay, I set you up. I'm looking at mountains, repetitive mountains in Hokkaido, Japan. Sunrise. I get this repetitive, repeated mountains of range, and an S-curve running through the middle of the picture provided by that river. Patterns. Okay, so I showed you a little bit of patterns in this last set of pictures. Here's more. Now I've set you up in Vermont here in a field filled with dandelions, and I've made this pattern of yellow against green, and then I break the pattern and give your eye a sense, something to focus on by putting that barn up in the far corner. Same thing here, Jack Frost. This is looking at a car windshield in cold country, and I've made a pattern out of these Jack Frost. However, your eye settles right there on the big one in the middle because it's the sharpest. Leaves, fall foliage reflected in a lake. I've cut out any reference to the actual foliage, focusing just on the reflection, and then break the pattern with two stones floating in the water. Again, off center, rule of thirds, set up a pattern and break it. Yaks on the Tibetan Plateau. Yak herder. Whenever I see weather like this, I get excited. And so I'm looking for my subject, and I see these yaks coming down the mountainside. I've got a long lens on, this compressing this view with the snowflakes also being compressed, giving this nice texture. And then I'm merely waiting till these yaks are in what for me is the right position, how you place the subject overall, making this photograph. Again, your eye travels around it. You're taking the detail thanks to this composition. Fall foliage in Vermont, sumac trees. Wasn't even focusing on maples. This is a combination of things here. Now, I wanted to show this swirling mass of color as the wind was blowing through the trees. It was very windy that day. So I'm actually shooting out of a car window. I've got my camera on the door, and I'm looking up into here. I'm varying my shutter speed somewhere between maybe 15th and 60th of a second. I don't know how much blur I'm going to get. Of course, this is the days of film. You can even check that. I needed this mixture of both sharp and blur to make this frame work. This one works. Okay, so let's talk about finally the moment, that unrepeatable moment in time that you capture in a photograph that makes that photograph special. I like to say it's the photographer's job to be in the right place at the right time with the right subject in order to capture that moment, and knowing when to press the shutter. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is a picture from my story on Basho, and Basho's most famous poem goes something like this. A frog jumps into an ancient pond, silence. That's the whole poem. So my job in illustrating that was to find some picture that said something that you could translate. And so here I am. I just happen to be in a pond. I'm looking down. I see this frog as he's just about to take the leap. He turns slightly to the right. Click, I get my picture. He dives in the pond. Picture over. Right moment. Obviously, right moment. I saw this guy setting up to take a dive. Maybe I turned on the motor drive to make sure I got it, but only one chance. He only did it once. I composed. I waited for the right time. When he jumped, I was ready for it. I think the operative term there is ready. You just got to be ready. You see the moment, you anticipate it, and then you capture it because you've been ready and waiting for it. Dynamic motion picture, motor drive. I'm waiting for the right timing to push the shutter when these kids are running up on the beach. I want to see them separated. I want to see those hands. I want to see these limbs of the kids. I want to see the splashing. And I'm waiting. Well, actually, I'm probably shooting the whole time on the motor, but I'm waiting for all these movements to come into play together with the big crashing wave. An obvious moment. Okay, here's something I could never have planned. I'm standing, maybe 100, 200 meters, 200 yards away from my subject. These are the tow lines on the Grand Canal in China. They had coolies pulling boats against the current up the river here, up the canal. And it's sunset. I've got a long lens on there. I'm focused on, I wasn't sure what was gonna, in fact, I was focused on the boats. And this guy or girl or whatever, woman, walks through my frame just at the precise time. Beautiful silhouette, click, unrepeatable. I could go back there a dozen times and never see the same scene. This is a real God moment. Thank you for sending that rainbow down there. It's just after a rain. I'm standing shooting these chorten, these stupa, which are all over Tibet. Places where they're put in sacred places where the gods come to earth. And the rain stops, the sky's open, in comes that rainbow, a God moment. I keep talking about that in and out sunshine. Here we are again. This is Kawa Gebo, the most sacred mountain in Tibet in Yunnan for Tibetans. And I've heard of people who've waited here for weeks to get a glimpse of this mountain because it stays most of the time hidden behind clouds like you're seeing here. Well, I was there for 3 days. And the third day, the mists blowing, lots of wind, clouds. Slowly, the clouds open, revealing the mountain. The light hits just on the snow-capped peaks, not on the rest of the clouds, giving a different exposure. Click, bang, another moment. And finally, here I am on the Mekong River. Total by surprise. I'm shooting in Laos and I'm looking at the sun, looking west into Thailand, and these guys just start crossing the river just when I had set up my lens to shoot this. And again, then it was a matter of waiting till each figure is in just the right body English to grab my frame. So for your assignment, I'm going to give you the toughest one that I can think of. I want you to capture a moment in a landscape. That's that point in time that is unrepeatable, that's going to set that one photograph off from any others that you've taken in that sequence. It's the most difficult of the elements that I discussed, and I challenge you to shoot me a good one.
wakey wakey. Lift it off. You don't need to do the assignment, by the way, unless you want to.
Have you done the assignment?
No, well, no, that's the
Have
first
you-
time I've seen that video.
I'll do it if someone sends me off to China or somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
exotic.
Well, that guy gets around, doesn't he?
He certainly visited some nice places, didn't he?
Yeah, I love that. Where Avatar was filmed.
Yes,
Giant, amazing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. So you got to think, where was he? Down on some river. But just think, you'll have to replace that with either the Itchen or the Test.
Yeah.
But then there's lots of places round here, isn't there?
Definitely. That
Trudy,
one-
you're muted.
No, wasn't it peaceful?
Yeah.
I was going to say, there's a pond down the common. If we hire a helicopter, you never know.
Yeah.
Well, amazing those pilgrims making that. That's incredible, isn't it? That kind of commitment
Yeah.
Well,
It just
or
with your
demented.
apron on.
do what, Terry?
Said or demented.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
depends on you. But now,
3
it
months.
might inspire us to go out and take a few photos, mightn't it?
I saw
Deathly silence.
Silence, yeah.
Find a decent landscape reindeer.
Yeah, I think it's a case of having a look around, isn't it? Obviously,
Peter, I
we're
don't
lucky we're lucky with all the sea and beaches nearby.
Peter, I don't know if anyone's if guys are interested, but I watched do you remember we watched a bit of Thomas Heaton YouTube channel?
Yes.
Watched a really good one this morning. It's about 20 minutes. And it's I liked it because he's on his bike for one, but he's basically gone around getting about 10 pictures on the really sort of boring areas of where he lives,
Yeah.
you know, flat as a pancake and so on. I thought it was really interesting. I don't know, I can either link it up or I don't know if anyone wants to watch it.
Yeah. Well, send us. Yeah. Have you got the link? I can always forward it on to everybody.
Is it really
Yeah.
boring? You said it's all the
Well-
boring places, isn't it?
The places are really, to him, the places are really boring, true. But what he's doing is he's kind of making the most of it, you know?
Showing you how to get something out of nothing. That's good.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, that is a bit of the art of photography as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I spent an hour walking around Petersfield today. You can usually manage to find something.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
a bit of imagination, bit of luck.
Yeah. I think that sometimes is a bit of a challenge to yourself, isn't it? Is to think, well, you know, you're looking around and just see if you can find some way of photographing something that possibly hasn't been done before or is a little bit different. Don't know. It's a challenge, isn't it?
I like the way he was talking about, you know, setting up the patterns and then breaking it.
Hmm.
Really good. A diver
Yeah.
was very cool as well, getting the timing right for something like that. Jumping off the pier.
Yes, I've got a thought for that. Something came. It gave me a little idea. So I shall. Next time we're down Swanage, I'm going to get Gary to dive off the side.
Give it a splash for the dog.
Or get
Like
us,
to see that.
or
Okay?
get us to throw him. You mean?
Well, you know,
Have some arms and legs.
we might need to give him a bit of persuasion, but I'm sure
Give him the birthday bumps.
I need him to put his arms out and, you know, and
No,
dive.
Gary, you take his camera as well.
Yeah.
You
Right,
can't get in
it's
front of him with the camera and behind him to push, you know.
I don't want him just flopping over the side. I want a lovely dive.
Long dive.
You'll be there with your scorecard, will you? 0, 1, 0.
Yeah.
What you need is to get him going up Swanage Pier towards you on a tripod, multiple exposure, and you get him to crawl, and then he has to hit some cymbals.
All in
He's a
one.
robe on, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be something, wouldn't it?
This is giving me ideas, Keith.
Yeah.
We haven't been down there for a while, actually. Last time we went down there last year, Gary, didn't we? And it was closed because of COVID. Not because of COVID. a lot of their volunteers weren't coming in because of COVID, so they didn't have enough people to open the beer, which was a shame, because it's quite photographic, isn't it? Photogenic. In fact,
It's always in the magazines.
yeah, it was in this month's, strangely enough, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and remember to. I'll scan it in and email it out to everybody, because it's an article on landscapes,
Yeah.
but he did a lot of the photography down at Swanage. That's the pier, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also showed you, what was he doing? Oh, how to set it all up and take some photos from.
Yeah, I've done one a couple of years ago, didn't I?
I remember that.
old-
Yes.
Old Swanage Pier, long exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And I had one like that as well. Put in the
Yeah,
competition.
you did.
Yep. Didn't get nowhere.
No.
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 There we go.
I'll send you the article, Bob, and then perhaps you could go back and do it again and do it properly.
Yeah. So I got the magazine.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And that was that's focus stacking, so that it's all in focus. I'll scan it in and send it out. Give you something to look at and do. I mean, how do people remember? Because we were having this conversation the other night, and I can't remember who it was. Someone said they'd been taking photos and suddenly realised they had something set up wrong. But has anybody got any sort of foolproof way of making sure they've got the right settings for the right photography they're doing?
Yeah,
like-
yeah. Look at the EVF before
Yeah,
you
look at
press
the
the button.
image.
Not that hard.
That's wrong.
Eh?
And
But I use the
done wrong.
custom settings.
Do
So
I,
I can. I use custom settings. I
Oh,
can,
do you? Yes.
I've got
Yeah.
6 different settings. I can say 1 is default for general purpose, 2 is for birds in flight, 3 is for dogs or something.
Yeah.
So at least I know where I'm starting from. Because the danger is you
Yes.
go off and do something, you changed it, then you might do some macro, and it's like, I just want general purpose, and that's just back to number 1. Yep. So everything's back to aperture and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't know if anybody's. I mean, yeah, obviously it's best to try and remember what you're meant to be doing, but it's not always that straightforward, is it? If you're in a bit of a rush sometimes.
Got any
How many
tips, guys?
Yeah.
for, you know, when you're sort of, I was up, I had a nice walk on Sunday up at Laverstock.
All right.
Really nice up on the ridge there, and it's called Cocky Down, like wildflower meadows and everything. Really nice near Salisbury.
Yes.
And I was sort of swapping around, I had my Canon M50, but I got somewhere you want to suddenly get close with an insect, and then suddenly you want to take one on a landscape, and some of it was come out really well, some's a bit blurry, and I guess one thing I'm trying to suss out more of is the aperture, which aperture to choose quickly to get it, set in AV mode. I think the ISO was on auto, so maybe I'm better whacking that on 100, bright day. But yeah, so I took, say, a flower and some of the petals or so on are slightly out of focus, or in the center, but the outside's nice and crisp. So I think they come out nice, but if anyone's got any tips on that, that's helpful.
Take 2 cameras.
What's that, Kyle?
Take 2 cameras.
2?
Yeah.
Have you got 2, Ray?
Used to it.
I have, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't want to take too much kit.
Film
I
days
have my
always
phone
took
with me as well.
film days always took 2 cameras.
Yeah.
One loaded with colour, one loaded with black and white.
Exactly right.
So then you get it, I suppose you could do, yeah, one way.
Yeah. Okie dokie.
All right.
Did anyone?
Who was that?
Yeah. Did anyone see that program of Chris Packham done along the Itchen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I saw it a couple of weeks ago when it was first shown.
Yeah.
Peter,
Yes.
did you notice who was in the water?
Yeah, Zlatan or whatever his name is.
Dalton Bolak
Yes.
from Southampton Camera Club.
Yeah, I saw that.
Was it?
Yeah. I guess it must have been all pre-arranged. It made it look as
I
if you
think
just
so, yeah.
turned up and walked along
It
there.
was quite busy along there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, like you say, I think that guy that we knew from Southampton Camera Club, he can't have just been hanging around in that river.
He goes up there quite a lot, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
One of the shots from the drone stunning as well. Crikey, the
Yeah.
colours.
yeah,
Incredible.
it was good, wasn't it? I mean, if anybody missed it, it'll be on BBC iPlayer on catch up, won't it?
It's already been on twice, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, they put it on. It's strange. They put it on local BBC one evening, and then about 10 days later, they showed it on BBC Two, I think it was.
That's
And then
right, yeah.
last night it was on BBC One. So
Yeah,
they've
you
shown
definitely
it.
still get it iPlayer. I think
Yeah.
it's on for another 11 months or so.
Yeah,
But I felt for the dogs, Itchy and Scratchy.
yeah,
One of them
Yeah.
ended up in the freezer, didn't he?
yeah, yeah,
Quite emotional, the trip of his
Yes.
life, wasn't it?
yeah. It was. Yeah,
Very, very good.
but it was interesting.
360 camera was cool too.
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't cheap kit though. I guess it must have been BBC stuff, was it?
It's
I
a
think it might
it's
have
a
been-
phone.
There's a Ghost,
It's a
it's a
phone.
GoPro that can do that.
Right.
It's on a stick.
360
He carries it on a
GoPro.
stick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he had
they-
it did film 360 degrees, Bob.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of those programs where they've had a celebrity or someone like that walking, usually on a coastal walk up north somewhere.
Oh, right.
There was a few people who's done them, and they just carry this camera on a stick and just walk a path, and they stop and speak to people who's walking. They're very good, very relaxing.
Yeah. it
I would
was.
think he would need another battery because he was on that for ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Uses battery quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He sure knows his stuff, doesn't he? Incredible.
Yeah. He's interesting to listen to, isn't he?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like you say, he knows what he's talking about.
Well done.
Right. Back to the hall. We had a little test today, myself and Gary. I went up and checked to see whether we can do the Zoom meeting from the hall. And it seemed to work okay, Gary, didn't it?
Brilliant.
You know what? That's the best. I can't hear you, Gary.
We have to wake him up first.
Now you can see him speaking, but
You're muted, Gary.
You're muted. Well, he's not muted, but I can't. He's not.
Not on Zoom, and my lip reading's not that good.
No. He's not muted, but he's not. We can't hear him.
He's my minute.
No, it's
not. Hmm.
Operator. Oh,
Getting his wetsuit on, ready for the jump.
no, he's going to wear speedos.
Fudgy
No,
smugglers.
Budgie smugglers.
Budgie smugglers, yeah. I don't know whoever thought of that. Someone who thought that's got a
Put his
strange
lenses
mind.
in there.
When he
Put
hits
his
the
long
ball,
lenses
it'll
in.
be the biggest fallout since Hiroshima.
Gary, can we hear you yet?
He can't defend himself yet. He's on.
No, he can't.
And you can say whatever you like, folks, but be quick.
Yeah, but he can hear us. That's the problem.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, there you go. He's there.
Hey.
Hey.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
I've now got a green light flashing on my mic.
Oh, well done.
That's I learned something. Yes, it worked very well, didn't it, Peter?
Yeah. Yes. They put a new
Breaking up or anything?
no, it seemed to be very stable.
Yeah.
So if everybody's in agreement, what we'll do next week is we'll go back to the hall, those that want to come along, and we'll try and do a Zoom meeting at the same time. So it'll be a bit of a trial run, really. I don't know what we can do, but I'll get my head together with Gary and we'll think of something to do, and if everybody's in agreement, we'll have a go at doing it. What do you reckon?
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Give it a go.
yeah,
Yeah. I'll do.
I can't
Can
see
you
why it
send
won't
everybody
work.
out to Zoom, and then they can have a choice at the time if they want to come in or if they want to Zoom. Is that right?
Sorry, say again.
You'll send out the invitation for Zoom, and then everybody can have a choice whether they want to Zoom or whether they want to come to.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll some of us will be in the hall, and those that don't want to come along or can't get along, the Zoom meeting will be open, and we'll do it together at the same time. See how it goes.
Get your own tea and biscuits if you're at home.
Yeah, the only thing, if you come into the hall, we're not allowed. They don't really want us to use the kitchen,
A bit tight in there.
so
No, just
you'll
the-
have to bring a bottle of water or a flask along if you want to drink. But going in there today, I don't think anybody's really using the hall. The last person to go in there was, is it Joan or Jean?
Joan.
Joan,
Joan.
isn't it?
Yeah.
She was the last one to go in on the 26th of July. And that, no one had been in before her for a couple of weeks or so. I think since June. So I don't know. It doesn't look like that many people. There was a lot of people outside, but there was nobody in the pavilion itself. So we'll give it a try and see how we get on.
What time are you meeting there, Peter?
Well, we'll do the 7 o'clock start, but I'll get there probably 6:30
Okay.
because of setting it all up and just making sure it's all working. They have put a new, I'll take a cable along because they've actually put some new conduit along with 13-amp sockets and with Ethernet connectors. And it says on there computer use only, so that's all new. And the it's a different network to join, and the router's in the main hall up by the clock.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so
You don't have to use Wi-Fi at all, Pete. It's
well,
nice
no,
and
if I can
quick
plug
then.
it in, it'll be better, won't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It'll
get
be
better
it'll be a
signal.
better signal.
Okay.
I didn't have a cable with me today to check it, but obviously we used the Wi-Fi, and that was fine. We just tested that it, we on there for about 10 minutes, and it was nice and stable. Gary
Or you
was.
use like a webcam, Peter, to
I'll just use it off the laptop,
yeah. That's
but I
pretty
might
cool.
I might set up so we could have another camera there as well. Depends what we're going to do.
You're gonna run a little PDI of some old images or something.
Yeah,
Just
I might do that just to test it next week. We
You've
can
got
just have a
those
little
little-
bit of a trial run, and maybe we'll try and use a camera and show Gary showing us something on the camera or something. But we can have a little go, can't we?
It's gonna be diving.
Hey, it could be, yes. We could,
Yeah.
we could get a bowl of water and a set of steps.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be good. We could set the camera up. Would we need to use a trigger or something to catch you?
Yeah. One is triggered by the screen.
As your head hits the ground?
Yeah.
But you should be all right to hit the bucket from what? From a bowl, from the top of a little set of steps. You'll be all right, won't you?
Yeah. I'll be great.
Okay. Right, you are. That's all I've got for tonight, really. I don't know if anybody else has got anything they want to have a chat about.
Did you
Anybody's?
get wet last week?
Eh?
Did you get wet last week?
No, we stood under the tree. I can't, I'll take you out to get you some nice photos out in the rain.
It was
We've
all
been
right in
told
the end, wasn't
not
it?
to go out in the rain with your camera.
Sorry, say it again, Keith.
Well, he told us to go out in the rain with our cameras,
He
didn't he?
didn't he?
So I'm expecting good results.
Well, I did take some photos, and they didn't look too bad. But no, we stood under the tree and it stopped raining, so then we had to wander back, and then we went in the pub with no beer, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a,
Style.
well, he seemed to be running out, didn't he?
Yeah, practically every pint he pulled, they ran out of it.
Yeah, he pulled a pint and went, oh, that barrel's gone. Would you like a pint of that? Oh, yeah, okay, then we'll have a pint of that as
a
well.
lot.
Oh,
Sky was
hello,
nice,
that one's
wasn't
gone.
it? By the time we left, the sky was
Time Ray
really
got
nice.
there was nothing left.
Oh, good.
Have we got any
So in
more?
true Trudy style, I was a little bit late because I didn't actually see your message until 7:15 when I tried to click on the Zoom. And I thought, oops, missed that one.
Classic.
Have we got any more outdoor sessions planned?
Well, quite possibly the 2 weeks after that, because I don't, one of them, I know I'm definitely not here. And the other one, I've got asked to step in and help out at a golf match in a fortnight's time. Because the guy that was playing managed to put his hand in his mower machine this morning.
Oh,
Yeah. And he said, I've just got back from the hospital. I've got to go back tomorrow and have them stitched back on. So I think he nearly lost 2 fingers.
Been there.
Yeah. I don't know what he did. Bloody-
well, don't know your grass.
Just don't put your fingers anywhere near the blade, do you? I
No.
think that's rule number
Is he-
1.
No, unplug,
Is he called?
cut off.
Is
Yeah,
he,
I think we do anything like that.
That's what happens.
is he
when
called
people
Reg
say to me-
Prescott?
Sorry,
Is he called
Terry.
what? Who's Reg Prescott?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's Colin.
He's harmless.
Somebody
Yeah.
knows who Reg Prescott is.
Who's Reg Prescott? No? Anybody know?
So, who's Kenny Everett doing the DIY thing where,
Oh,
where
right.
he ended up covered in
yeah.
blood every episode?
Oh,
Ah, right.
right.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
come back
Yeah,
And there was
Terry,
an Arsenal
yeah, to remember now.
to it.
You got a
one of
good
the
memory,
Arsenal
Terry, haven't you?
footballers did it some years ago, didn't he?
Harry George.
Yeah.
Is everyone enjoying the Olympics?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well, when we win,
Yeah.
I want to catch some of the. I think there was some speed climbing on today.
Oh,
Quite cool to watch.
Yeah.
Cycling's been amazing. If you've seen some of the BMX, incredible.
we saw
Cycling
the
has, yes. And I can't believe they let doesn't Denmark go through after they knocked off the blooming one of our blokes.
yeah, but
out
wasn't
of
it,
order.
well, I didn't see it, but they were saying that because he caught our bloke up, the race was over, wasn't it?
Well, not really, because he knocked him off. I mean, officially they still got to go through the lines, haven't they? I know
Oh,
that
right.
once they've caught up with him, but the thing is, his language afterwards and the way he behaved after the accident, that alone should have had him disqualified.
Yeah.
Because he was the
Yeah.
one in the wrong, and yet he was effing and blinding at the other bloke who looked quite dazed by the whole thing.
See one of the track cyclists. He snapped his handlebars off, didn't he? One of the Australian guys.
Oh, I didn't see
Just
that.
clean off, snapped
Yeah.
right off.
Over the top.
He didn't look happy, did he?
Sent you that witch information in an email.
Okay, thank you very much then, Colin. Appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
don't know if anybody else has had any dealings with any travel insurance companies that they can recommend. Kev's been quoted the earth to go on holiday.
No, I'll do it through the bank
I'll do
Yeah.
mine through the bank.
as
Yeah,
Colin suggested.
the bank won't cover me anyway.
Won't they?
No,
No,
By the
it's
way,
that
the
ma- it's
panda's
that ma-
gone.
it's that magic word.
Yes,
Beaver?
the panda's gone, has it?
Yeah.
Ah, good. Yeah, they said they'd fixed it. So there's
Not bad
obviously there
for
was
Trudy.
something wrong. They tried to make out there was nothing wrong, and that how was it we were seeing it? But anyway, at least it's sorted.
Right. Good
I was-
night,
I was
everybody.
saying-
Yeah. Okay, Colin.
saying-
Yeah, good night, Colin.
Right, thanks very much.
nice to see
that's the
you.
word, Peter.
See you in the flesh next week.
See you next time.
See you next week.
Bye,
Some
bye.
at the hall, some here, some online.
Terry, you say
Yeah.
something?
Terry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I thought I sent you an email suggesting people download the whole lot, and then you can view it at your leisure on your own computer. Kind of.
Yes, you did send me that, Terry.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't forward it on because it might be a bit complicated for some.
What? It's
Trouble.
pressing a button that looks like a down arrow. It's not that complicated.
Terry, How long have you been in this club?
sounds simple. Sounds straightforward.
I think, Peter, I think he's volunteering to be secretary next year.
I think
Yeah.
we've just had a hand go up. We can't see it, but we've had a hand go in the air.
No, no.
No, it's
I'll be, I'll be the Flickr advisor.
yeah. Well, yeah. I'll give. Have you got a phone number? I'll get them to get in touch. No, I could see what you were saying, but we obviously needed to cure the problem of that panda keep coming up, because a lot of people just like.
Yeah, but I never do that. On the front page of the album, there's a down arrow on the title sheet. So if you press that, it creates a zip file, download all the photos, look at them on your own computer.
Yeah.
Right.
In full res. No,
Yes,
but it's
of
a
course.
lot quicker, a lot. And your own viewer, color calibrated and goodness knows what.
Yeah.
I must say, guys, the PDIs are pretty awesome. There's some of the pictures, I've only just skipped through them earlier. It was a cracking round, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really
We've got to
cool.
start thinking about how we're going to pick out the ones for next year's league match. I've narrowed it down to the winning and the photos that have been placed. So as I'm sure you'll understand, you can only when I give the results first, second, third, fourth, etc. Each person's can only be mentioned once. So like Keith the other week was first, and he should have been third, but obviously he was only first. So when we come to do the photos for the league, we'll put his one that was first and the one that was third will go forward to the photos for us to go through. So we've got 78 photos. We've got to whittle that down to 8, I think it is. So we'll have a little think about how we're going to do that.
You're going to do it, or a judge?
Well, I
Judge
don't know
to do
whether
it.
what do you
I'd like
think?
to
I'm quite relaxed about how we do it. Normally what we do, we go through them, we pick a couple of Gary's, a couple of mine, and then we see what's. No, I don't know. I mean, like
I don't mind. I don't respect anybody's opinion, really.
you don't, or you do.
That's the best system, isn't it?
Have we got any more PDI competitions coming up?
Well, we'll have another PDI this month. We're August, aren't we? August,
Yeah.
and then normally we then have September. Last year, we had instead of the PDI, we did the photo of the year. We got the external judging, and that then got us the short list for the league. And then October, I can't remember now, but October we had either had a PDI. I think October was the triptych. Then there was the Len Ferguson. We had the Mount Leach Trophy. So those that missed last year's cut-off are in this year's. But yeah, we should by rights have a PDI in 2 weeks' time. So we'll just have to give it a bit of thought how we want to arrive at the league entries.
Was it the Sky of Many Colours was that yours, Keith?
Yeah.
Wow.
You put one in very similar before, Keith, haven't you? Which also did well.
Yeah,
Something from Thurnstone or Thurlstone or something.
Yeah.
Last week's was, I think, nicer where it was wider and had the sun in.
Yeah. What a panorama, amazing.
It was a cracking photo. Yeah, so I don't know. So I'm open to suggestions if anybody's got any ideas on how they think we ought to whittle the list down to 8. I mean, what we've done before is I think we voted for them ourselves, I think. And then,
we tried that, didn't we?
eh?
We tried that.
Yeah, I don't know whether we want to do that or not. I mean, we could do that and then come up with,
Successful year.
sorry?
I don't think that was a very successful year for us. So,
Maybe we get everybody to vote for it and we take the top 20 that they marked, gave the highest marks to, and then probably yourself, Gary, and maybe Keith or somebody, or myself, or the 3 of us, or the committee, we just go through and pick out the ones that we think will do best.
yeah.
I think it was good last year that we had 8 different. Did we have 8 or 7 different
different.
photographers, which is
Yeah, that's good.
when I looked through all the other clubs, I don't think there was any other club had done that.
No.
But
It would be
normally
good-
that
good if we
normally
could get 8 with 8 different photographers.
yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think so, because it's everybody gives everybody a chance there, but also you're not then reliant on 2 or 3 people to
Yeah.
do all the work like we used to a few years back, didn't we?
But what was the club over the Isle of Wight that's had 3 or 4 members?
Yeah, it's
Was it Ride or
White Balance, is it?
something like that?
They got
Yeah.
8 members, I think,
Yeah.
and yet they managed. They come up. They did quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, at least we've got a few more to choose from than that. Okay, folks. All
Right.
good.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
you.
Well, I look forward to seeing you either in person or on the computer next Tuesday.
Awesome.
Yep,
Thanks,
thank
Peter.
you.
Take care,
Yeah.
everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night, all.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh.